Hi and welcome to this DCP web tutorial. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a silver checkered shader using Blender 2.8. So let's open up this example here. We can see this checkered shape on this spherical object, and we're using Blender and the shader editor to create this style and effect of this shader. It's quite simple to do, something very easy to understand and do, and then you can apply this to different types of objects. Imagine if you had a floor somewhere, like you wanted a checkered floor in a bathroom or something like this, then you could use this logic to apply that material to the floor. Or if you just want to create some text and have checkered text on it, you could use that and apply this material to some text object. You can use it for whatever you want. It's seamless, so it will just keep repeating around. So let's go ahead and create this using Blender. So let's minimize this and open up new Blender. Okay, so like usual, we'll click on General, we'll delete the cube and we'll delete the light source, and we'll go to File, Save As, we'll go to my desktop, and then inside this folder I'm going to call this, let's see, Checkered Silver Material -01. So let's do what we normally do when we're creating these materials. As an example, we'll apply it to a sphere. So we'll create a sphere and we'll set the size to 5 on the X, Y and Z. Then we will add a modifier and we'll add a subsurface, and we'll click apply, and we'll right click and shade smooth, so we've got a nice smooth sphere here. We need to download the HDRI map, so let's quickly do that. So it's the normal ones that we normally download. So let's go ahead and download them. We'll go to HDRI Haven, and I'll put links in the YouTube description to these maps. So let's just make a quick note here. So in my folder on my desktop, I've got a HDRI folder. I'll make a few notes and I'll put links to these HDRI maps inside those notes. So let's go to Browse 200. We'll download the usual one, which is going to be in the night time. This one here. So I'll put a link to this. You'll find that in the description. And I think we'll download a different one today. So let's try out. Let's click more. Let's see what might work well. Let's try out this one here. So I'll click that. I'll put a link to that in the YouTube description as well, and we'll download 4K. So we made the folder here, HDRI. So let's just delete these and we'll drag and drop these new ones into here. So we've got our HDRI lighting examples, and then in Blender we've got our image or our sphere here. Let's go to File, Save. Let's go to the shading, and we need to set up the HDRI environment. So if you followed my last tutorial, we do this in a slightly different way now. So let's just quickly whiz through that. Let's go to world settings here. We've got our world output and we've got our background here. I'm just going to slide this across to make it a bit bigger so you can see, make it a little bit easier for you to see. Let's zoom in here a little bit as well. So we'll add a Shift A. So we'll press Shift A and add a background, and we'll drag that underneath here. So we've got two backgrounds. We'll press Shift A, and we want to input a light path. We'll drag that right over to this side here. Then Shift A, and we want texture coordinates as well. Shift A, and we want an environmental texture, and then Shift A, we want a vector mapping. So we'll click generated to the vector, vector to this vector here, color to the top here. We also need a mix shader. So let's press Shift A, and we want a shader, mix shader, and we're going to drag it in between these two here. So it kind of connects like this. So you should be able to see that. Let's drag these across so you can see it a bit easier. Like this, and then we'll connect this background. Let's see, to the shader here, to the bottom shader here, and then connect the is camera ray to the factor here, and we're all set up. So all we've got to do is click open HDRI, and we'll click on this one here and we'll open it, and then we can go to our render view. And basically what we've done is we've got the object, it's taken on the HDRI lighting, but we don't see it in the background. So we can click the background here and set it to any color we want. We want it black for now. And let's click on this sphere object, and then we'll go to the world and we'll go to the object settings now. So we're going to do the material settings for it. Let's click new, and we've got the material here. I'm going to drag this up a little bit, zoom out a little bit here. And this is a really simple shader. Let's press Shift A, and we want to insert a, let's see, texture, which will be a checkered texture here. Let's grab that there. Then we'll press Shift A, and we want a color ramp. And all we'll do is connect the factor here to the factor here. And then we will connect the color here to the base color here. Now we've got that pattern, right, that we wanted. So let's improve that pattern. The size here, we'll set it to 8.8. So we can see the size now is like 8.8. And we're pretty much done, apart from maybe setting up our bloom and setting up a few other settings. So you can go and experiment with this a bit more. Really what I want to do is set the metallic all the way up, so it's like a shiny metallic object, think of it that way. The specular I'm going to move all the way down, and then the roughness I'm going to set to around 0.18. 0.18, so you can see it's reflecting off this HDRI lighting now. You can see that reflection a bit better. We might bring the roughness down. Let's bring it up a little bit more to around 0.29. We just don't want to make out that that's like trees and stuff. We just want a bit of that effect there, like this. So we need to sort out our lighting quickly. So let's go to the layout. Let's go to the render view, and we'll zoom out. We'll press Shift A, and we'll insert a sunlight. And we just drag that sunlight above. It doesn't really matter, but we drag it above. And then we'll press Shift A again, and we'll insert another sunlight, and we'll drag that to this side, and then we're going to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. So let's click on the sunlight here, and then on the y-axis we'll rotate it 90. So now it's pointing in this direction at the object. And then we'll go to our output here, our render settings. We'll set the render to 120. The viewport to 120. We'll turn on the bloom. We'll set the threshold all the way down, and then we will set this to around 2.7, something like that, 0.27, and then the radius will bring that down as well because I don't want it to be too harsh, something like this. And let's just increase the intensity, and then we'll get these nice little glow effects as we were to rotate around this particular object. Or if we were to create a different object, we'll get that effect there. So let's just turn off the overlays. We can see that a bit clearer. So now you can take this, you can apply it to text. You can apply it to some sort of floor in a bathroom, because normally you see this sort of stuff in the floor in a hallway when you walk into a house. You can apply it to anything. It could be material for, you could get rid of the bloom, and then you could have a material for like a sofa or a chair or something like this. That's just really a quick way to create this checkered object. So if you go back into the shading here, click on the object, and you can change the scale here. So set to set to 8.8, but you can just play around with the scale here and change it to a different sort of pattern. You can make it more sort of, you know, more detailed. The scale will give more squares, so you can have it really quite a lot, something like this. Looks more like snakeskin now, doesn't it? So there's a snakeskin shader, there you go. But we'll set it back to its original 8.8. That's what it was before, so we'll leave it around 8.8. Then these two sliders here, they affect the color of the square, right? So we can click here on this white one, and we can change the color to a different color. So you can go for like a purple sort of color, but I thought like a silvery white color would be like a good color to have. So that would normally be basically white here, and then you can reduce this slider here to make it more of like a silvery grey. And there you go, that's that shader done. You can also go into the world settings here, and you can play around with the rotation, and you can see that's going to affect the colors as well, because it's taking the image and using the lighting from this HDRI for the reflections in this object. So you can just rotate these around and you can get different sort of colors in there. You can click open here and you can pick the other HDRI map that you downloaded. This one's got quite a lot of colors in it. We'll click open here and you can see it will give you some nice sort of greens and different sort of shades in here like this. You can just rotate around and find out where it looks good, and then you can just rotate the object like this. You can also change the scale here. So sometimes I change the scale settings to get more lighting, more effect in here. So you can really experiment. It's down for you to experiment and see what looks good. Something like this might look quite nice. We'll zoom back out and we can see here what it looks like. And then you can change the color of the sun lamps as well. You can go into here and change these colors, and then you're going to get different sort of lighting effects on the top here. And we can also do the one on the side, and then you're going to get different effects here, right? So the bloom's now got blue in it. You can see from the blue here. So if I were to change that to like a lighter blue, a different color, different shade, you're going to get different lighting effects. So it's down for you to experiment. This is just a basic checkered shader with some HDRI lighting, and then we set up 2 sunlights, and you can now go and experiment, apply that to text objects. It's using a metallic material, so it's going to shine and reflect off the HDRI lighting. And I think it's a pretty good example of how to create this type of texture. Okay, we'll go to File, Save. Make sure you save your work. We'll minimize this. And that's the end of this tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you in the next DCP web tutorial.